Tonight on Connecticut's news station, President Biden visits our state.
We all want our kids to have the freedom to learn, to read and to write, instead of learning how to duck and cover in a classroom.
We'll hear from him as he looks to Connecticut for national solutions to gun violence.
Also, penicillin shortage fears. Find out what doctors are saying as a drug maker issues a major warning.
Some rain moving in off and on right into part of this weekend. We're going to talk about who gets the most coming up.
And Connecticut prepares to celebrate Juneteenth.
This is a moment for reflection.
How this year's holiday comes after several high-profile racist incidents across our state.
Breaking news now on Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
You begin tonight with police responding to the scene of yet another street takeover. Good evening, I'm Ben Goldman.
And I'm Jen Bernstein. Thank you so much for joining us. This happened in Vernon, and it's the latest street takeover amid a rising number of incidents across our state. Fox 61's Jake Garcia joins us live in Vernon tonight with what we know so far. Jake.
Well, Ben and Jen, as you can tell behind me, a much different scene than what Connecticut State were monitoring earlier tonight as what they called a potential street takeover event happening at this commuter lot off of Interstate 84. Take a look at this picture. This was from around 8:30 tonight when Connecticut State Police said that they, as well as local and federal agencies, were monitoring a possible street takeover here at this commuter lot in Vernon. Now, this is coming as we have seen many street takeovers in recent months across the state. State police even cracking down and partnering with local police departments as well as federal agencies to try to put a stop to the increase in street takeovers that have plagued the state for the past couple of months. Tonight, here live, this empty lot behind me, a testament to the work. Live in Vernon, Jake Garcia, Connecticut's news station.
Obviously having some trouble with Jake Schott. Hopefully we'll get a full update from him next hour on the news at 11. Meanwhile, we are turning to the weather watch tonight, expecting a bit of a rainy start to the weekend.
Yeah, there are showers in the forecast for tomorrow. So the big question is, how does it look for Father's Day? We want to check in with Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank.
Well, Father's Day for sure is going to be the pick of the weekend. Temperatures will be warmer. The sky will be brighter. It will just be a drier day overall. But tomorrow's not a total washout either. I wanted to show you what the radar looks like right now. We are dry across the state, but you see these showers that just kind of pop up and don't move very much. I think that's going to be something that we see as we head into the weekend, where some towns might stay very much dry through the course of the day Saturday, and others could get slow-moving, persistent downpours. So it's going to be kind of like rain roulette heading into this weekend as this disturbance swirls across the area. Right now, we're looking at temperatures in the 60s all across the state, and we'll see overnight lows that'll pretty much stay there. We're thinking upper 50s to right around 60 as we head towards daybreak tomorrow. And this isn't going to be exactly right with the timing and placement of showers, but I did want to kind of show you the overall idea here for tomorrow. Not a washout. This is 8 a.m. But notice occasionally we see some of these showers come through, and then there'll be a break in the action. Showers come through, and then there's a break in the action. Overall, we're looking at high temperatures in the 60s and 70s tomorrow, still below average before we really start to warm things up a bit more later next week. We'll explain your full forecast and our first taste of summer for a while coming up.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Now to our other top story tonight, a presidential visit here in Connecticut.
President Joe Biden in our state to speak at a gun safety summit. He arrived on Air Force One, touching down at Bradley International Airport earlier today.
The president greeting people as he got off the plane, a special moment for two young boys.
We got to shake hands with the President Biden. It was really exciting and cool.
Motorcade then driving him from the airport to the University of Hartford to speak and take part in a gun violence prevention summit, an event that brought leaders, advocates, and victims together. President Biden front and center at the National Safer Community Summit at the University of Hartford, joined by Connecticut leaders and gun safety advocates from here and across the country.
For those who say they're concerned about crime, you can't deal with crime without dealing with gun violence. It's a simple proposition.
The summit bringing together those who've dealt with its painful impact, fighting for change.
My identity is reduced to 3 words: Sandy Hook Mom.
The event highlighting a state that's enacted some of the strictest gun laws in the nation after the Sandy Hook school shooting. Governor Ned Lamont just days ago signing another comprehensive bipartisan gun bill into law. The summit held to mark the one-year anniversary of the passage of a large-scale federal gun safety bill. Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, a leading voice for it in Congress.
Last year, this month, Congress passed the first major gun safety bill in 30 years, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act.
President Biden saying more needs to be done, calling for an assault weapons ban.
Never bow, never bend, never yield, never kneel. We never will on this issue. Never, never, never.
But the visit was not without criticism. Protesters making their voices heard outside of the event.
Criminals don't carry guns. Criminals don't telegraph that they're going to commit crimes. This law is against law-abiding citizens.
Some Connecticut Republican leaders also bringing issue with the location of the event, saying it should have been in one of Connecticut's inner cities where gun violence is rampant.
It's simply about optics and to try to make people feel good. It's not going to do one thing to solve the problem that we see in Hartford and around the state and around this country.
Now, following the event in Hartford, the president headed to Greenwich for a fundraiser this evening as he raises money for his re-election campaign. And if you missed it this afternoon, we have the president's remarks on Fox61.com. You can also stream his visit on Fox61.com or on Fox 61 Plus for Roku and Amazon Fire TV.
Well, new at 10 tonight, a Monroe man sentenced to 25 years in federal prison for sexually abusing 3 girls. Connecticut's U.S. attorney says 34-year-old Hector Torres pleaded guilty to 3 charges. Court documents say that he used Snapchat, FaceTime, and text messages to talk with girls who were 11 and 12 years old. Torres asked the girls to send him naked pictures and drove them to a shopping plaza parking lot in Hartford several times in February of 2021. He promised to give the girls money, sneakers, vaping supplies, and food if they sent him the photos or had sex with them.
New at 10, a West Haven man charged with murder was arrested after Southington police say he threatened a worker at a bar. 24-year-old Brandon Ramos is facing 4 charges in the incident at 75 Center early yesterday morning. Officers say he's also accused of shooting and killing a man in Meriden in 2021. Ramos is being held on a $250,000 bond.
New details tonight about a deadly crash in Waterbury. Police identifying the victim as Sandra Sanga Pagwe as she was involved in a crash Tuesday on Lakewood Avenue involving a car and box truck. The other driver in the crash had non-life-threatening injuries. Police are still investigating what led up to the crash.
A former Southington theater director in court this morning as he faces sexual assault charges. 45-year-old Daniel Shakovitz is accused of having inappropriate contact with several teens from 2008 to 2016. The accusation was made in 2017. Shakovitz is also facing a civil lawsuit filed in 2019. He was working as a theater director and lighting supervisor at the time of the assaults when the victims were 14, 16, and 17 years old. Shakovitz is due back in court in August. Well, new at 10, in your Health Watch, Pfizer is warning doctors about an expected shortage of penicillin.
The concern is about a common antibiotic used to treat certain bacterial infections in kids as well as sexually transmitted diseases in adults. Earlier tonight, our Jake Garcia spoke with one doctor about how hospitals are preparing.
Pfizer notifying doctors the injectable antibiotic known as Penicillin or Penicillin G is on the verge of a major shortage. Penicillin can be used to treat everything from bacterial infections and certain respiratory viruses. Known for its peanut butter-like concentration, the medication is injected into the muscle where it gets absorbed over time.
It's a long version of a penicillin, so penicillin otherwise you would have to take it several times a day. So this one gives doctors the advantage of giving people one dose.
The CDC recently reporting a 32% increase in syphilis cases, and that is putting pressure on the manufacturers, causing doctors to turn to alternative treatments.
In pregnant women, for example, there's not a lot of good alternatives if they have syphilis. And as you can imagine, it's a problem because we do not want the pregnant one passing on syphilis to their unborn child. So it's really trying to preserve some of that medicine for that specific populations.
But doctors say just because they'll be finding alternative treatments does not mean these alternatives are less effective.
The alternatives are not necessarily that, it wouldn't work. It's just that, there are preferred treatment, and then there's like other things we can use, but it's still effective therapy.
For potential patients who may be anxious about the shortage, Dr. Paul Anthony says,
stay back, relax. Your doctors will do everything they can to go around and use alternatives to make sure that your health comes first. And we always have a plan to try to get you the best care that we can.
That was Jake Garcia reporting. Pfizer says it expects the shortage to last several months and the supply will recover by this time next year.